The sun was just beginning to rise over Los Angeles, casting a golden glow over the Forrester estate, when Steffy Forrester received news that would change her life forever. The small, white stick in her hand confirmed it. She was pregnant. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were not the pure tears of joy she had expected. Instead, they were complicated, heavy, burdened with guilt and fear. As much as she wanted to celebrate this miracle growing inside her, she couldn't ignore the cruel reality looming over her life. Liam Spencer, the man who once held her heart and still occupied a corner of it, was dying. His illness had worsened rapidly, and while she had tried to be there for him, circumstances were slipping beyond her control. Now, knowing she carried Finn's child, the man she loved and had built a future with, she realized the days ahead would not just be about nurturing new life, but also watching another life fade away. Finn was ecstatic when Steffy told him the news. He lifted her into his arms and spun her around, laughing, crying, savoring the promise of a future they had both dreamed about. Yet Steffy's smile faltered the moment she locked eyes with her reflection across the room. In that glassy stare, she saw her fear. How could she balance bringing new life into the world while helping Liam find peace in his final days? Finn reassured her, but the unease gnawed at her, a shadow she could not shake. Meanwhile, whispers traveled fast through the corridors of the Forrester Creations and the Spencer Publications empire. Some believed Liam was using his illness to wedge himself back into Steffy's heart. Others said he simply wanted to be close to the woman he had loved so fiercely, so desperately. But none of them knew the darker truth festering inside Liam's fractured mind. The moment he learned Steffy was carrying Finn's child, something inside him cracked irreparably. Rage, jealousy, despair. It all tangled together until it birthed a thought so vile that even Liam barely recognized himself. If the child was gone, Steffy might turn back to him. If she lost Finn's baby, perhaps she would find solace once more in Liam's arms. The sickness in his body had already poisoned his spirit. He was no longer the man Steffy once loved. He was something darker, something desperate. And yet, a spark of hope flared unexpectedly when Liam received a message from a specialist hospital in Europe. His tumor, once thought to be inoperable, was now deemed operable with a high chance of survival. A simple surgery could remove it entirely. Liam held the letter in trembling hands, staring at the words that should have brought him salvation. But salvation wasn't what he sought anymore. If he revealed the truth, Steffy would rejoice and perhaps continue to drift further into her life with Finn. But if he kept her believing he was dying, she would stay close, tied to him by sympathy, duty, and guilt. And so Liam made a decision. He would bury the truth. It wasn't enough merely to lie. No, the darkness inside him demanded more. He needed to ensure Steffy would have no future with Finn, not if he couldn't have her himself. Watching her one afternoon, radiant and unaware, he put his plan into motion. He obtained medication strong enough to end a pregnancy if ingested in sufficient quantity. Concealing it in his jacket pocket, he waited for the perfect opportunity. It came during a sunny afternoon at Steffy's home. Finn had gone to the hospital for an emergency shift. Liam arrived under the pretense of needing someone to talk to, someone to comfort him. Steffy, ever compassionate, invited him inside. As she briefly excused herself to answer a phone call, Liam seized the moment. His hands trembling, he poured the drug into Steffy's glass of water, watching the clear liquid ripple ominously. When she returned, smiling gently, she picked up the glass without hesitation and drank. For a moment, Liam felt victorious. A sick triumph coursed through him. Soon, this obstacle would be removed. Soon, Steffy would be free again. But fate, ever cruel, had other plans. Barely 15 minutes after finishing her drink, Steffy clutched her stomach and gasped in pain. Her knees buckled, her face twisted in agony. Liam rushed to her side, his heart pounding, masking his guilt behind a facade of horror. An ambulance was called. Paramedics worked frantically as Steffy moaned and whimpered, blood already staining the fabric of her dress. At the hospital, Finn arrived just in time to see Steffy being rushed into emergency surgery. His heart broke at the sight of her. Doctors moved quickly, but the damage was devastating. The hemorrhaging was uncontrollable. They fought to save her, to save the life inside her, but the situation spiraled out of control. Hours passed. Liam sat in the waiting room, numb. Every tick of the clock seemed to echo in his skull. He told himself he had only intended to end the pregnancy, not hurt Steffy herself. He never wanted this. But deep down, the part of him that still held onto slivers of morality knew he had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. When the doctor finally emerged, the solemn expression on his face said it all. Steffy was gone. Liam's legs gave out beneath him. He fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, gasping for breath that seemed to evade him. His cries echoed down the sterile halls, a haunting symphony of regret and despair. Finn, broken beyond words, collapsed against the wall, his world shattering into pieces. The news traveled fast. Ridge and Taylor arrived in tears. Thomas clenched his fists, rage and grief warring inside him. Hope Spencer, hearing of Steffy's death, held back her own sobs, torn between sorrow and the gnawing realization that Liam had been spiraling for months. As the days passed, Los Angeles mourned the loss of Steffy Forrester, the vibrant spirit who had touched so many lives. But no one mourned more bitterly than Liam. In the dark hours of the night, he replayed every moment over and over, hearing Steffy's laughter, feeling the warmth of her embrace, remembering the light that once danced in her eyes, all now extinguished because of his own monstrous actions. At Steffy's memorial service, the atmosphere was suffocating. Her portrait stood at the front of the chapel, surrounded by white lilies and photographs from her life. Finn gave a trembling eulogy, describing the woman who had brought light into his life, who had fought for love, for family, for hope. His words broke the hearts of everyone present, but none more than Liam, who sat hidden at the back of the room, unable to lift his eyes from the floor. He had killed her. Maybe not with his own hands, but through his deceit, his selfishness, his unthinkable act of betrayal. And now there was no redemption, no forgiveness. Only the endless torment of knowing that the woman he once claimed to love had died because of him. After the service, as mourners dispersed, Liam wandered alone to the cliffs overlooking the ocean, the same cliffs where so many pivotal moments in his life with Steffy had taken place. The wind howled around him, tearing at his clothes, whispering accusations in his ears. He stepped dangerously close to the edge, staring down at the jagged rocks below. A part of him wanted to jump, to end the agony, to seek whatever penance awaited him beyond this world. But another part, the cowardly part, held him back. He stumbled home instead, collapsing on the couch, clutching the ultrasound picture Steffy had once shown him in tentative excitement. The image blurred through his tears. The life he destroyed, 2 lives, truly, stared back at him, silent and damning. Questions hounded him every hour. Could he survive knowing what he had done? Would Finn ever uncover the truth? Would Ridge, Thomas, Taylor demand justice if they knew? The guilt clawed at him, an ever-present companion, gnawing through whatever remained of his soul. Sleep became a foreign concept. He saw Steffy in every dream, smiling at him, then bleeding, then vanishing into nothingness. Every sound, every memory, Every heartbeat was a fresh agony. He could not hide from it. He could not escape. Whispers began circulating, fueled by subtle suspicions. Why had Liam been so close to Steffy during her pregnancy? Why had he lingered so long, even as his supposed health deteriorated? Why, after all the history, had Steffy's final days been shadowed so heavily by Liam's presence? Hope began to question. Ridge began to probe. Finn, devastated but relentless, demanded answers. The net was closing in, and Liam knew it. One misstep, one slip, and the secret would unravel. Still, some nights, in the depths of his despair, Liam almost wished it would. Maybe if he confessed, if he bore the consequences of his sins, he might find some measure of peace. But cowardice always won. Fear always won. And so, he remained silent, imprisoned in a life of his own making, condemned to a lifetime of guilt. The tragedy of Steffy Forrester's death would haunt everyone who loved her, but none more so than the man who had once vowed to cherish her above all others and had instead destroyed her in the name of love twisted beyond recognition. In the end, Liam Spencer was left with nothing but ghosts. The ghost of the woman he loved, the ghost of the child who never had a chance, and the ghost of the man he used to be. And those ghosts, he realized, would never let him go.